Hi everyone, this is Olwynne and this is my second program of Soulful Connections. Today I have an amazing lady. She is a dear friend of mine, but she is also an amazing artist and storyteller. She is an aviator, a visionary woman, and an extraordinary human being. And so I would like, without further ado, to introduce you to my dear friend and this wonderful lady, Trevella. Hi, Caroline.
Hello.
Hello, it's lovely to have you here, my dear. Okay, we have a lot to talk about today, so let's just sort of get straight into it. I want to start by just explaining to everybody, you know, how we met. We both live in Rangiora, and you were doing a wonderful children's after-school program, I believe. Is that right?
Oh, it was an after-school program when we first met. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so that I could put my kids somewhere and do some work.
Yeah, and we kind of had we had friends in common and people that we knew in common as well. But I remember the first day I ever came around to your house, and you know, arriving at your house in Good Street, and it's a lovely old villa, and I thought, yeah, cool, and walked in, and then you took me up to your front room, and you know, and showed me your beautiful creations. And I just remember feeling so emotional, like tears, you know, like, and just feeling like I had walked into this amazing place, and that I was in the presence of this incredibly just out there, wonderful, creative soul. And I've felt that ever since. You've never disappointed me when it's come to that, ever. And it was like, how do I describe your work? Well, we're going to show a lot of pictures throughout this program, so people will get to see it. And of course, they can always go to your website and have a look, and they can have an understanding.
I can unwrap the camera and show you my backyard.
Yes, well, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Caroline's backyard is just, you just can't believe what Caroline's backyard looks like. It is full of these incredible creatures. And you can get to see some of those on her website, or if you ever go to her house to buy one of her wonderful products. But you didn't start your life in New Zealand. You actually were born in Canada. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, born in Canada. Yeah, I lived several places in Canada and around the world. And then I met a New Zealand man who ended up being my husband for a number of years, and we had children together. And while we lived in Toronto for about 10 years together, and I decided that it was time for us to go somewhere else, and we chose New Zealand, which I've never regretted, not for a second. It's the most beautiful country.
Mm. And you were doing work you were doing your creative work in Canada too, weren't you?
Yeah, I had a company, a puppet show company called Trevella Productions, and I created a storyline, and Steve built a theater, which I painted all wacky colors, and it was all very colorful. And I did events, you know, and parties and things like that. Yeah. Yeah. And I was doing mural work and a little bit of illustration and hand painting T-shirts. So just whatever I could get my hands on, pretty much.
Yeah. I've always really loved the names that you give things. Trevella Productions and you know, the Goofy Ghouls is what you came and created in New Zealand, wasn't it? For Kids Fest in Christchurch.
Yeah, that was kind of, it was almost an offspring of the Trevella Productions, because I created, I actually did a wearable art, which was a wearable puppet show theater. So the child would actually put this theater on, and I had little boots and fake arms out the side so they would operate the puppets. And so then that turned into, how am I going to use that? And then I started thinking about interactive, because whenever we went to an art gallery with the girls, they always wanted to touch stuff, and it was always like, oh, no, you can't touch. So I thought, what if we had a tangible art show for kids, so they could come and participate and actually engage with the art? And so I created Goofy Ghouls, which was the interactive art exhibition, and had costumes and just things they could turn lights on and off and stick their heads through the holes of these little things. And puppet shows, of course, they had the puppet theater there. And yeah, there was a few things. I can't remember everything that I had there. And then they would come and spend an hour there, however long they wanted, and just play with all the stuff.
Yeah. My kids used to love coming to your house. You know, it would just be so exciting. And I remember Alex always loved their fairy. You were the fairy that you had there. She thought that was wonderful. She headed for that whenever she walked in the door, along with the many other things that their eyes used to just light up. And I think that one of the things that is just so divine about your work is it just plays the child in all of us, you know, no matter how shut down you might be from your child, you know, when you come around to your place, when you see your work, you just are drawn into that incredible magic.
Yeah,
and
it's permission to be a child again, isn't it? You get permission.
And you celebrate that in yourself, you know, just in your own life and the way you see. I mean, you're a very spiritual and insightful person and woman, but yet you have that wonderful child about you, part of you that is so expressed through everything that you do. And I think the other thing too is that, you know, the other work that you were doing when I met you was that you were doing the Valentine's Christmas windows. And creating these just amazing windows. They were ideas from your head that you would sketch them out on paper, and then you would begin the process of creating them. Explain that to people. I still marvel at what you do. So you explain what your process is from doing them.
Well, I did usually sat down and got inspiration with Chris and Lindy Parker and of course Steve Trevella, my husband, and then I would go away and like we decide, okay, we're gonna do this story this year, and then I'd go away and create the scenes, you know, so I'd draw up the scenes like the big bad wolf blowing at the house, or I made a big tree that was a talking tree which was telling stories, and I created that out of clay and fiberglass, and I would just basically draw a storyboard, and then they would take it to Valentine's and they would say yay or nay, and then I get started. So yeah, it was somewhat of a team effort, I have to say, you know, like, I mean, installing it and getting all the lights around it and that sort of thing, and Steve of course did the animatronics at that time, and then later on it was Grant Loader, and then most recently it was my partner Pete who did the animations for the Kirkcalds. So I always had an animator.
Yeah, you did.
Not anymore, though. I'm not doing that anymore.
You don't do that anymore, no. But, you know, but the thing that is that, you know, I can remember you coming to your place, and you know, behind you is your home, but it's also your workshop, isn't it? You know, so as part of your workshop. So whenever I go around to see Caroline, she's always working on something. She's never idle. Her hands are always busy. She's either sculpting or painting or gluing or fiberglassing or
this is killing me right now. You know that, Olwynne.
Pardon?
This is killing me right now.
I know. This is the longest I've seen her sit still for I don't know how long, that she's actually got to sit and talk to me without having something to do with her hands. But yeah, and these creatures would appear. But the other thing that you used to do was you'd get these great bolts of material, and you would be on your sewing machine sewing them all up and sewing a bit in here and hand stitching and stuffing them, and then out of this would come a dinosaur or a creature or behind you on the wall is a product of that. Show people, and that is a combination of stuffed and stuffed with material, stuffed with stuffing into a shape.
Look outside.
Oh my God! Yes, look at that. Look at that. That's Caroline's grotto. Isn't it amazing? And that's the sort of thing that you used to do. I used to come around and that's what you'd be doing. And I'd be going, what is she making? And then, you know, each time I'd come around, it would grow into something more. And then this amazing
a lot of fiberglass in those days. Remember how silly it was here? God.
But when you first started, you were painting the cloth.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because that one behind me was just cloth.
Yeah, it's just cloth. And
I just wrote it. Stiff and then paint it. That was the process I used to use.
And you have no square edges.
I don't like squares.
I know. Everything is just soft and molded and beautiful, and you know there's no squares in your work, which is amazing. Apart from the windows, of course, they were square, but everything else in them and everything else is not square, which is just amazing. And so you know. You've done a lot of incredible amount of work. Yes, look at that. Isn't that beautiful?
There, and I'm not in a square anymore.
Yeah, it's just one of the gazillions of things that you have made over the years. I was looking back through your website and I was just going, you know, that's just a fraction of what you've done. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, yes, you know, I've forgotten so many of them.
Oh, my.
Yeah, just so much of it. And the other thing is too that, you know, you have created murals, painted a lot of murals around the place, and you've got children involved, which was so lovely. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
The council actually got me involved because they wanted to get some areas of Rangiora that were getting tagged covered, because we did one long fence which is still there. It's a wall at Pink Elephant Park, which is very faded. But yeah, the children that did it would be into it this nowadays. It would be the grandkids. Yeah, and I just painted a background, and the kids did a design, and they showed it to me, and I helped them to realize it onto the mural so that they could participate in the mural. And they put their messages up. And Dudley Park Pool, at the time before it became a center, had quite a big wall, and the kids painted that. That was kind of sad when that went. I think a lot of people were sad, but yeah, they did their safety messages on it, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
And it's nice to have the kids involved, isn't it? When they
Yeah.
feel like they own it, it's part of them. And
Oh, definitely.
yeah,
Definitely.
they want to talk about it, and they want to care for it and look after it, don't they? When they've actually,
Exactly. They never were vandalized ever.
no. And I think that's that thing. It's that connection, isn't it? That I feel like the art is not a luxury. It's a necessity, isn't it?
And it's to be shared too. You know, people want to share it. It's not something that you go and ruin for the sake of ruining it. You know, it's for everybody to own. Basically, it's owned by everybody who observes it. Put it that way. So
yeah, that's true.
The community takes ownership of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. And of course, the other, you've done lots of costumes. You've made heaps of costumes over time.
Oh, yeah.
Again, that sewing and that painting and all those other.
I used a lot of latex rubber in those days too.
That's right. Yeah, you did. Yeah. And I was, as I said, I was looking again. You know, the Beauty and the Beast, Mrs. Potts and Chip.
Yeah.
Like that. Circus costumes. You seem to be making a lot of circus costumes.
Yeah, the last one I did was a dodo bird, massive dodo bird. That's on my website, I think. Yeah. I did sort of these furry monsters with long arms, and I did quite a few monsters. And I can't even think of how many.
UV skeletons are the ones I saw there.
Oh yeah, there was skeletons. It's a hilarious picture of Carly with a skeleton. She sculpted a massive structure that we put together with sort of almost puppetry.
And Carly's your daughter. Yeah.
Carly worked with me for quite some time.
She did. And of course the Sun Smart Turtles and the People Eater, I've got them here. Penguins, aliens, numerous New Zealand native birds, taniwha, just to name so many of the things that you have done. And of course, if anyone went through Springfield, not in the United States, but in New Zealand, on their way to and from the West Coast at any time, and saw the giant donut that was there, that was another one.
Yeah, it's somebody else has done it. I don't take credit for that anymore.
No, the original one was much better.
And it was actually just a copy of what already existed anyway. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. It was, yeah. So yeah, and I also think that one of the other things that you did, which was really interesting, was that, and it was so much fun, and it kind of ties into your aviator. The aviation part of yourself was that you did a life-size replication of John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, that was for, what was it? It was for the Apollo landing in the French island. What's it called? Help me out here.
No.
French island, New Caledonia.
New Caledonia, okay.
Yeah, so they have a museum. I expect it's still there. Lunar Landing Museum. So it's featured in that because JFK, of course, was president at the time. Yeah. So I did a life size of him.
And of course, you had your picture taken with him because you took him up there to your plane, and you had a microlight, thruster microlight.
Yeah, I called you up and made you come down and take pictures of me with him.
And take photographs of him. We got up there, and here's the pictures will be on the screen as we're talking about this. Here's Caroline in her thruster with her life-size version of JFK sitting
with the headset on.
With the headset on, yes, which was just absolutely delightful. And of course,
I to some friends, they're going, "Who's that guy? Who is he?"
Yeah, he definitely looked like him. And of course, John and I had the great joy of going and finding him clothes, buying a tie for JFK and buying a suit. So, yeah, that's one of those sort of ones that stands out, and I will never forget as long as I live. And of course, the other lovely thing that you have now is your book. Our Christmas tree's got critters. And this is the second version of it, but the first version, I couldn't find my second version. It is there somewhere, but this is the first version, and that's your second version. And of course, your sister Dinah wrote the story, but the story originated from one of your Christmas windows. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Kerkolian Stains, I did it.
Yeah.
So right. It's just a story of these kids that wake up in the middle of the night and they hear a noise and they creep down the stairs, and then they go and they find that there's a little door on their Christmas tree, and they turn a key, and what happens next, you'll just have to find out.
Very good. And I think that the lovely thing about these illustrations, I just look at these and I think there's so much detail in there. There's just so many things for a child to look at and to take part in. And all these different colours, and there's so much interest in them. The words the story is one thing, but the illustrations are just they're a feast of colour and wonderful magical things. I could sit here and look at this picture that I've got here of this one, and there's just so much going on in there for the child and all of us to go and have a look at. But of course the story is great. And of course your aviation, you started out in Canada long ago. You got your commercial pilot's license, is that right?
Yeah, I got a commercial pilot's license in Edmonton, Alberta.
Yeah.
So I did a few, oh gosh, I was working on my instrument rating and I wanted to become an instructor, and then I thought, because I used to travel quite a bit, and I suddenly just got the traveling fever, and I thought, right, well, I'm going to go away and I'll come back and finish this later. And then I went away and spent a year in Greece and Turkey, year and a half in Greece and Turkey, and then that's when I met my future husband, my daughter's father, in Greece, and we sailed around together for a while, and then we came back to Canada together. And then I just didn't get back into it because we were in Toronto instead of Edmonton, and so I kind of put it on the back burner because it's quite an expensive thing to do, and we were struggling, new family, new house. So, and then when I went back to renew it, I found that the rules had changed since I had let it slide, and unfortunately I'd have to go back and write the exam, and really that was a very, very difficult exam, and I couldn't see myself studying for it. It was just too much. And then I discovered the microlighting here in Rangiora, and it was like, great, I can do this, and it's actually a lot more fun than general aviation. A lot more fun. You really feel like you're flying.
And of course you've got your new plane is not far off taking to the skies with you in it. It's being tested at the moment. Yeah,
it's getting test flown. We're there's a few little kinks and creases that we have to take care of, but yeah, my friend Mike Small's doing all the test flying in it, and yeah, he's a fantastic pilot, and it's bright orange so everybody can see it, know exactly where it is at all times.
I can't imagine it would be anything else but something, right? And your garage has been some interesting things in your garage. Has been planes and things.
Yeah, I covered the wings in there. I did all the rib stitching in the garage.
Yeah, that's right. And of course the other wings that have been there, those amazing angels, those huge angels that you made for the Christchurch Cathedral.
Yeah, I did that with my daughter Carly as well.
Yeah, not long before we had the earthquakes, and I got this really amazing picture of, I will put it in, of me sitting on Caroline's couch with this huge pair of angel wings behind me, but just these beautiful angels, and of course they're on the website if people want to go and have a look. They were.
You should put that picture up. I think that picture's hilarious.
Yeah.
I've got we on the roof of the garage with the Biggles helmet on, holding them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, is there's just been so many amazing creatures coming out of your house, out of your workshops. It's like Santa's workshop on steroids. And I know I've sort of referred to a thing like Jim Henson, but no, Jim Henson and the workshop is not a patch on what you've done. He's very clearly himself, but you are really very much your own person.
I'm not in the same league as Jim Henson.
Well, I think the thing is that people are in that creative process. Some make it to the big screen, and some just carry on in their backyards and make it into smaller places. But the impact of those of us who get to view and be part of what they do is the same. And that's where I make that connection. As I feel the same way that I felt about you know, the work that I've seen from other huge visionaries, especially those who are really in touch with that magical child within themselves, which is so lovely and so important.
That's why we create, is so we can experience those things, you know.
Yeah.
We want to see them. We want to make them tangible. We don't want to just dream them. We want to see them and make them come to fruition.
There's a final line in that song from Sunset Boulevard where she says, she's talking about how, you know, the line goes, we taught the world how to dream, I think, or we showed the world how to dream. And I think that that's the thing about being the visionary, of holding a vision and then doing something about that, acting on that, and then bringing it into being, isn't it? And into some kind of manifestation. And so that we can then share it and we can see it ourselves. I think that's really the important one, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of joy in seeing other people, and, you know, the smiles on their faces when they see this.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's it. Is that, you know, there's a lot of times there's a lot of self-doubt, isn't there, in that creation process? And we've all been through that. We're creative and we're prepared to put ourselves out there. There's this huge amount of self-doubt at times when you're doing things. Have you experienced that, you know, like being the artist and being prepared to earn a living at being an artist? And
you know, it's just one of those things, it sneaks up on you, and then you just got to recognize what it is and decide, I'm meant to be an artist. I am an artist, and let it go, you know, because I mean, my work's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, you know. Either the people that are drawn to it, or they don't get it. So like I say, it's a passion. I have to do it. Otherwise I get creatively constipated, and I'm not a very nice person. And so I have to, like, if those voices come up, I just kind of got to go, well, you know, I can choose to listen to those, or I can choose not to. And I choose the latter. I'd rather just hear the things that make me happy. And I know that's very Pollyanna of me, but I am a bit of a Pollyanna. Why have a negative thought when you can have a positive one?
The glad game.
Yes.
She used to play the glad game. My dad used to read me that book when I was a kid. He's talking about Pollyanna. She always saw the good in things. And the beauty in it. And I think that's it, isn't it? You know, that being able to express that in lots of different ways. And, you know, we have some really interesting conversations. We don't ever talk small talk. It's always big talk and deep talk, and or hilarity or comedy, or, you know, laughing, or whatever else we're doing. But I think the thing that's most valuable out of, you know, having great friends who are living their dream is it helps each of us to find the courage to live ours. Well, even at times when we feel squeezed, don't we, financially or whatever. Oh, let's go and get a job, J-O-B, and suddenly you feel like you're being crushed by something really heavy.
Yeah, because the J-O-B isn't actually something that I can do now. You know, I'm at that age that I've devoted myself to my artwork, so there's not really anything that I'm qualified to do. So do what I do best. I mean, I'm a doctor in color.
Yeah.
I'll stay with that.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, you know, one of the reasons I wanted to create a Soulful Connections is because it is about people who really are being themselves and living their dream, and making their dreams a reality. So, you know, it is a soulful expression of who they really are, and they're living that, being that 24/7, and go through that doubt, but, you know, don't listen to the voices, or just carry on regardless, or whatever. And that actually going and trying doing something else other than living your passion, it's just crushing.
Soul destroying.
Soul destroying. It makes you feel so unhappy.
Disconnected. Just
really. Yeah, that's exactly true. Good words. Yeah. And so you know, no matter how hard you try, you always find yourself back doing it, because it's the right thing, isn't it?
Well, you're drawn to it. It's drawn to you. Yeah.
Did you find that as you were going through this process over these many years that, you know, that you seeing your work evolve? You know, I can remember that you were doing lots of commissions for other people, and then you reached a point where you realized that you didn't want to do that anymore, that you actually really wanted to do your own thing and commission your own work and do it yourself. Can you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I guess, I mean, I was very free to put my own sort of spin on what I was working on. But I always, because I was working for somebody else and they were paying for it, I had to make sure that they were pleased with what I did. And I guess I kind of wanted to try on what I wanted to do and see how that went over. I mean, you're always going to be susceptible to the opinions of people who want, you know, whether they're going to buy your work or not. I mean, that's the only way I can survive. But I'm not just beholden to one company who's out there to not exploit me, but I'm being used as a tool. So it's a little bit different than just being an artist in my own right, you know, just creating and going, here it is, here I am, rather than here is this, now go take it to your business and try to get more business with it. So yeah, it's a different sort of a different audience, I would guess. Maybe not so much a different audience, a different employer. Yeah, I work just as hard for me as I did for anybody else, but I want to just I want to keep it close to my heart, put it that way, instead of prostituting it, if that's the right word to use.
Well, yeah, I guess that it is, you know, the thing about that prostitute archetype, we all have it, you know, that and it is part of our survival. It is one of our survival archetypes, and so we do need to do things at times to survive, do jobs, work, whatever it is, to bring food and pay the rent, the mortgage, whatever else we need.
Oh, don't get me wrong, I'm happy to get jobs that bring in the food and the rent.
That's right. So, you know, that's the thing. At times we that part of ourselves is really important. But alongside that, we do need to be doing like you're doing, and, you know, letting that creative self have reign. Yeah. And would you say that, you know, knowing, I know your story, but that there were signs along the way for you that was kind of showing you that it was time to let go of these commissions and start to do your own work? Do you think that there were signs pointing towards that, showing you it was time for you to do that?
I think I was finding a little bit less joy in it than I had been. And that's always an indicator, isn't it? And there was a few stressful moments, which it's inevitable when you're working to a deadline, but always having to pull a rabbit out of a hat got a bit tiring. And I think I was happy to do it, but it was quite stressful, and it put stress on all the people around you and your environment and yourself, for that matter, you know.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. One of the things, like I'm sort of the process of Soulful Connections is about, as I said, about, you know, live your joy. And it's like if you're in there and things aren't working smoothly and you're finding there's no joy in what you're doing, but you have this desire to do something else and you're not doing it, then, you know, I'm sort of trying to say, you know, pay attention to that, because it's trying to tell you that, you know, this time is coming to an end, and be prepared that, you know, you can either go back into some other soulless thing, or you can actually start to pick up the mantle and really yourself, which is so important, isn't it?
It's self-expression.
Yeah, it is self-expression.
Just gotta go, whoa, I want to just make something, you know, and I just want to make it. Like, I don't know why I do, but I just want to make it. So yeah, I managed to incorporate that in quite a few of the Christmas displays I did. Like, I wanted to make berries and I wanted to make elves, you know, so I did express myself quite a bit through those creations. But yeah, sometimes you're just doing something that's, it's like a mundane piece of artwork. I'm not going to name anything in particular, but it's sort of like, it doesn't bring me joy. It's just it's work, basically. Because, I mean, as an artist, you can pretty much paint anything you see. You know, a person can take a photograph and paint a photograph. I think that's academic. But to take something from your imagination and create it is completely different. So I like to do that. I like to have full expression, like full creativity, rather than, you know, finding things that already exist, like buildings.
Yeah, and I felt like that when I was doing theatre. I felt like there was an angel under each arm going, off you go, we're going to do this. And spent all those years doing the shows, the Sound of Music and Fiddler on the Roof and the Ready Written shows all the time. And then it wasn't until I left that and kind of found that I could then write sketches and I could create other things. And that's really where I sort of, oh, yeah, I found it. This is it.
Yeah.
That's when the real sort of joy. That was great. A lot of joy before that, but there was a huge amount more of self-expression went into those other shows where I felt like I had total creative license and revelled in that up to my eyeballs and bigger.
It's so fun. I just remember those pigeons, or those ridiculous.
Oh
pigeons.
yes, yeah, lots of fun. And that's the thing, isn't it? That if you let yourself have that creative license to just do what you want to do, it's incredible what comes out, and then other people start coming on board and they get a joy out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And take part. Yeah. And so now you're making your own creations. You're doing what you want to do in your own way.
Yeah, I'm still taking commissions if they come along. I'm doing drawings for a mural and just every once in a while I'll be quoting something.
Mm-hmm.
I did the decorations for Kaipoi Christmas last year.
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment I'm making just silly things like my market products, like I've got things like unicorns and Christmas geckos, and I don't know, they got things all over the place, like plant pots. They just sort of to put a plant in. Just fun stuff. And I've got mermaids and angels and but just bits and pieces. Or anything I just want to feel like I want to create, then I just create it.
Mm. And it's on your website. I went and had a look there before, and people can go and check it out on your website and look at what you've got. And of course, you're also up at the Rangiora Market every Sunday.
Yeah, I got a Facebook page too. So the Bazaar International is the Facebook page. Yeah. So I'm not very active, but sometimes some things out there that are new. But there's a lot of images on that.
Yeah. And we're going to have all Caroline's details at the end of this program, and you can go and check her out and find out what she's doing and look at her wonderful work there. So I think that we've pretty much covered everything. I think that the thing that has always really fascinated me and drawn me into your world is that you are incredibly authentic. You're very real. What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And that, and that expression of who you are. And you have strong opinions, but you don't stuff them down people's necks. But you have these strong views of life, an incredibly strong person. And I think that that's the thing that, we can be artists, or we can express ourselves through artists or writing or whatever else it is. But the authenticity of the person, I feel, is the most important thing of all.
Yeah, well, that's how you recognize people, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
That's how I recognize you. That's how you recognize me. Yeah. You can see it in people. Yeah. And I think most people are authentic. I think they are. I think you can find it, just by looking at them and seeing them for who they are. I think, there's a lot to be said about just how you approach a person and how, and acceptance too, without judgment, seeing everybody just without any judgment at all. There's some amazing people out there, really incredible souls. And I enjoy that. I enjoy people very much.
Yeah. Well, we enjoy you too. I enjoy you. All right, my darling. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Caroline. We're gonna call that to a close now. Are you happy with that? Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I think, no, I don't think so. I think the imagery will probably speak for itself.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything more I need to say.
No.
I'll think of a million things as soon as we stop.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I wanted to say goodbye to everybody and thank you all very much for.
Bye. Thanks
Yeah,
for joining us if you did.
yeah. And if you're looking for something really special for a gift for someone anywhere in the world, you can go and see Caroline's website. And people have been, my family and friends have been recipients of gifts from Caroline for a long time now, and they have had so much joy from them. So thank you all, and I'll see you next time we come back for another session of Soulful Connections. Until then, go well and goodbye.